Hello, I'm coming to you from the food pantry here at the church because it is Christ the King Sunday. Well, that doesn't seem to make much sense, Christ the King in the food pantry, except today Jesus talks about sheep and goats. He tells a parable about sheep and goats have a lot to do with our food pantry. Not that there's any sheep or goats in here that I can see, but we're going to talk about what does it mean to be a sheep or a goat. And so first I'm going to ask if you can identify sheep and goats. So I'm going to put some pictures up in just a moment and ask you whether it's a sheep or a goat. So hold on one moment here. All right, here's our first picture. And what do you think? Is this a sheep or a goat? If you said sheep, you are correct. Now let's bring up a second picture. What do you think? This one I think is pretty easy to identify. This is a goat. So if you said goat, you got it right. That is a goat. Now I'm going to bring up another picture here. This one might be a little bit harder. The cute little animal here. But is it a sheep or is it a goat? The answer is goat. This is a goat. And here's our next picture. And this is sheep or goat. It's a sheep. This is a woolly sheep standing out in a field. Here's one more. Now look at these little furry guys. What do you think? Could they be sheep or could they be goats? Well, if you're thinking they're goats, you are correct. And now our next picture here, here's a couple more little cuddly guys here. And what do you think? Are these sheep or are they goats? Now this time if you're thinking those are sheep, you're wrong, they're goats. Two little baby goats. And now for another picture. And this one, this little animal, his head is kind of pointing down a bit here, so you can't really see his face too well. You see a couple of horns there. What do you think? This is a sheep. Sheep have horns and goats have horns, but their horns are a little bit different. And I have one last picture here, and this little baby laying in the straw, is it a little baby goat or a little baby sheep? That's right, it is a little baby sheep. So those are our goats and our sheep. Well, I hope you did okay with our sheep and goat quiz here and can identify a sheep and a goat, and if not, maybe now you can. But sheep aren't necessarily furry little guys, but they're people who do what God calls them to do. Jesus calls upon us to follow his son Jesus, and Jesus calls us to serve and love others. And so that's what Jesus talks about in the parable, are these sheep who listen to his voice, sheep that do the things he calls them to. And that's why I'm in the food pantry here. So I'm going to swing around here and take a look at, this is what happens when sheep are around. They buy food for others, to care for people who are hungry. I can tell you that all the people that were bringing these in are sheep. They're people who listen to Jesus' voice and do the things he calls them to do. And look at all of this food that's in here. We've got quite a bit at the moment. And to be honest, this won't be in here that long because it's going to be going out to people in need. But we're so thankful for all the sheep. So if you want to be able to identify sheep, if you see somebody at the church bringing some food to put in the food pantry, you know what they are? That's sheep. There's another event going on right at the moment. We're going to take a walk down the hallway here for just a moment, all the way down to the office. It's a little dark in here at the moment. But here's another sign. If you happen to see anybody with these boxes like this, these are all full of gifts for children in need. So there's a pile of them here, there's more over here, there's more behind the counter, and there's some in other spots in the building too, but this was the closest place for me to get to. And you know who brought those in? Sheep. Sheep brought those in. So if you saw somebody carrying in these boxes for children in need, you saw sheep. How do we identify sheep? They're people who love others as God has loved them. And we're called to be sheep. We're called to love other people as God has loved us. We don't have to be all furry and cuddly or have a tail or floppy ears or anything like that. We're called to love other people and to share the gifts that God has given us with all people, and especially with those who are in need, so that there's enough for everyone. So let's, you and I, work on being sheep, on people who hear Jesus call our name to love other people, and then we love other people. Let's be the sheep of the fold of God. Amen.